Hello everybody and welcome to a deep dive into everything we know about Brighter Shores. Now if you don't know, this is a brand new MMO coming out on the 6th of November and it's created by Andrew Gower, one of the creators of the original old school RuneScape. Now we're gonna cover all the information we have available as of right now and hopefully it'll help you decide whether this is the next big MMO made just for you. As always, feel free to jump ahead to the sections you care the most about, and for more MMO related content, make sure to subscribe to my channel below. Alright, let's get into it. Okay, so let's start by looking at the world. Now just like RuneScape, Brighter Shores also uses click to move. This means that you'll be clicking around the map for your character to move to that location that you've just clicked. The big difference, however, is that where RuneScape is pretty much an open world where you can seamlessly run from one end of Gielinor to the other, Brighter Shores uses a pretty unique room system for its world. Now what this means is that the game is actually divided into rooms that are connected to each other, sort of like an old school Zelda game. Now it is still open world, not instance, so you will still be running into other players regularly in these rooms, but it's not seamless and you definitely will not have the same level of freedom that you have in RuneScape. Now this may not seem like a huge deal, but I think it's kind of easy to overlook how big of a difference this really is. Room systems like these can very easily start to feel really restrictive, and honestly I feel like this is actually a pretty bad idea for the longevity of the game. Either way, the world itself looks detailed and interesting with lots of different zones and biomes, and it actually has a very charming retro-esque aesthetic that I think works really well. Okay, so the world looks great, but an empty world is pretty much useless. So let's talk about the content roadmap. So Brighter Shores promises extensive questing with more and more quest lines added over time. The way that they plan on going about this is through a structure of seasons and episodes. Now each season will contain multiple episodes, sort of like arcs in a story, and all the episodes in a season will be released at the start of that season. So with every new season, you'll be able to play through all of the new episodes available, and the game will release in its first season with 4 episodes to start with more being added later with new seasons. On top of all of this, there will be 4 areas to explore on release. These are Hope Port, Hope Forest, the Mine of Mantuban, and Chronopolis. Now we don't really know what these areas or episodes will actually be like, but questing and exploration was a core part and a very well designed part of RuneScape, so there's really no reason to think it won't be done just as well here. Okay, so I said that combat wasn't a focus for this game, but that doesn't mean it doesn't exist. So let's take a look at, well, combat. Okay, so this is probably the section that we actually know the least about. Now given that the game is click to move, we don't really expect a very fast-paced combat system. Most likely it'll be similar to that of RuneScape, where most of the damage comes from some sort of auto attack with some simple skills thrown in here and there. That said, there is a very big difference between this game and RuneScape, and it's that Brighter Shores actually has a dedicated class system. So far, we know of 3 classes: the Cryo Knight, the Guardian, and the Hammer Mage. Now we don't really know what the specifics of these classes are, but given that they are well defined, it should be pretty safe to say that we'll likely get unique skills for each class and unique gear to use those skills with. Now this could mean a more interesting combat system, maybe even the possibility of group content where each class has a function to fulfill, like DPS or tank or healer, but honestly it could also just as easily mean a very small difference in skills, similar to how different weapons work in old school RuneScape. Beyond that is wild speculation, because really we don't really have all that much information about combat. My only hope is that combat is actually a bit interesting and it's not as dull and mindless as it is in old school RuneScape. Now I know that some people prefer that, but for me, I prefer a much more engaging combat system where PvE becomes a game of strategy and thinking, and there's room for skill expression. Okay, so we don't know a lot about combat, sure, but we do know a lot more about professions. Okay, now this is where Brighter Shores shines the most. This game has an absurdly large number of professions, which are like skills in RuneScape for you to level. Now we don't know the very specifics of what each profession entails, but for most of them I think we can probably guess from experience what the gameplay is gonna be like. To start, we've got the basic professions that are pretty common in most MMOs. You've got Fisher, Chef, Woodcutter, Miner, Blacksmith, Leatherworker, Stonemason, and Alchemist. Now those are the basic professions. We can pretty much imagine already what those professions are gonna be like. What really excites me though is the professions in Brighter Shores that you don't really see in other MMOs. These are Scout, Minefighter, Merchant, Detective, Watchperson, and Forager. Now we don't really know much about these at all, and it's hard to even assume what they'll look like since most of these professions are things that straight up don't exist in any other MMO I can even think of. I mean, what What the hell is a mine fighter? How would the watch person profession even work? We'll have to wait and see, but come on, this sounds really fun. Now remember, these are all distinct from each other. So each profession is pretty much its own activity. So this large number of professions means a ton of different things you can do in this game. All in all, I think that this system is pretty much going to be what makes or breaks this game. If it's designed well, with the professions working alongside each other, synergizing well, while also being genuinely fun independently of each other, this game is going to be incredible. If it doesn't work and it's a mess, this game might not work out that well. But okay, let's cut the hype and come back to reality for a second. No MMO is truly free. At the end of the day, it's a product and we are customers. So let's talk about monetization. Alright, the big question. Now, you may have expected this, but Brighter Shores will follow a monetization pattern that's sort of similar to RuneScape. That is to say, the game will be free to play at the start, with some areas and quest lines locked behind a premium pass. The main difference, however, is that unlike RuneScape, which has a premium subscription, Brighter Shores will sell a premium pass for each season. Remember, seasons contain multiple episodes, and these are basically your main story quest lines in the game. Some episodes will be available for free in each season, but when a new season releases, you can buy the premium pass for that season and unlock all the available episodes. Now let's be fair, they advertise this as a one-time payment and almost as sort of a fight against subscriptions and subscription fatigue. That said, here on this channel, we call it like we see it. Needing to buy a premium pass on every new release of a season is a subscription. If you get one new season per year, that's just a yearly subscription. This is okay, of course. I think a subscription-based MMO is perfectly fine, but I really don't like seeing it presented as if it's this great pushback against subscriptions. Now, we don't know how much this premium pass will cost, but we do know a good amount about what's actually included in it for Season 1. To start, the Mine of Mantuban and Chronopolis areas will only be accessible with the premium pass. On top of this, premium gives you the ability to have a unique name. Now, this sounds kind of crazy, I know, but the way that names work in Brighter Shores is through a suffix system, sort of like what Discord used to do and what Riot Games does now with their Riot ID. With premium, you can get rid of this suffix at the end of your name, but I will say the suffix is not visible in game. It's just used when you're adding a friend or something along those lines. Inside the world of Brighter Shores, you actually aren't going to be seeing anybody's suffixes above their heads or anything like that, so this isn't actually that big of a deal. The bigger issue is that player-to-player trading is actually locked behind the premium pass. Now, we don't know if this applies only to direct trading or all trading, even through a marketplace, but this will seriously hinder free player progress just as much as locked content will. I'm not a fan of this decision at all, because it's definitely one made entirely to push players into buying the premium pass by locking a very basic MMO feature behind it. We also don't know whether we need to keep buying the latest premium pass for the current season to keep access to trading. All in all, it's a very interesting monetization system that feels like a mix between Guild Wars 2 and its expansions and RuneScape with its subscription system. Still, it comes with a few scummy practices that push you into buying that premium pass, which, even though I'm super excited for this game, we have to acknowledge. And there you have it. That's everything we know so far about Brighter Shores. I say so far, but the game is gonna come out in a few days, so I guess we'll find out a lot more when it does. Yes, admittedly, it's not a ton, but it's still more than enough to get me super hyped for this game. I think this might be one of the most exciting games to come out in recent memory, and my only hope is that the monetization practices are fair and not slimy, because the potential of this game is incredibly high, and I'd hate to say it failed because of greed. Either way, I'll definitely be in game on day 1 on the 6th of November, and I hope to see all of you in there as well. For more MMO related content and for more Brighter Shores content, make sure to subscribe to my channel below. I hope to put out tons of guides for Brighter Shores and other MMOs pretty soon. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.